Hi, and welcome to our Tipsy Paint YouTube channel. I'm very excited to have you join me today in recreating this beautiful shimmering white birch tree painting. You can purchase our wonderful bundle at tipsypaint.com, and in that bundle included is a 16 by 20 canvas with a rinsing cup, paint palettes, 3 paint brushes, all the paints that you need, and a wine cork. So let's get started here. So once you've purchased our bundle, what you're going to do is take the paints and place them on your styrofoam plate. It's going to come with white, dark blue, light blue, brown, and black. You should have received also 3 brushes, large, medium, and small. So we're actually going to start off with the large brush. So you're going to grab that. Make sure your rinsing cup is filled with water, and you have a couple sheets of paper towel handy to rinse our brushes when we're done using them. So the first step to this painting is we're going to kind of block in some of our larger birch trees. So you can see here to the left, we've got our largest birch tree, and then to the right we have one that is just a little bit thinner in size. So you're going to grab the lighter blue out of your paint palette, and you're going to use the skinny side of your brush, and it looks like this birch tree is about 3.5 to 4 inches wide. You're going to use the skinny side of the brush, and you're going to pull and drag. All right, doesn't have to be a clean straight line. White birches have that beautiful papery feel, so it's going to be a little rough in texture. Now we're going to hop over and we're going to put in our next tree, which is a little bit thinner and it looks like it sways to the left a little bit. You're going to use the skinny side of the brush, start at the top, pull and drag with a very gentle curve. And you're going to leave about 2 inches of space in between and create another line. And this will be our second birch. Now you're going to leave this blue on your paintbrush, and what you're going to do is you're going to pick up a little more of the lighter blue, and then you're going to double dip, and you're going to grab a little bit of the darker blue. All right, and we're going to do the blending straight on the canvas. So everything in between our birches is going to be painted with a dark blue. So use the flat side of the brush, pull and drag, start at the top, follow through with long continuous strokes. Now you're going to go back in, grab a little more of the darker blue, and keep filling in that space. Get up as close as you can, right up against that line. Now what I want to do is give it that kind of gray feeling in that background. And instead of using black, which a lot of people assume is the color you're going to be using, we're going to use a little bit of brown. I'm going to keep on using a little bit of that dark blue, a little bit of that lighter blue, and just a little touch of brown. And we're going to work that straight into the canvas. So now you can see there's a big difference between the darker blue and now this kind of blue-gray that we have going on. You want all those colors to kind of run into each other, and they're blending straight onto the canvas. And you're just going to keep on repeating this process until you fill that entire portion in. If you don't have to clean your brush, just grab a little more of the blue, grab a little more of the lighter blue, and a little touch of the brown, and work that in. Try to cover up any speckles of canvas that you're seeing peeking through. Just means you're not using enough paint. And also smooth over any large clumps of paint as well. Grab a little more brown, grab a little more of that darker blue, a little bit of the lighter blue, and work that in. So now you can see we have a lot of various shades of blue, just by using the darker blue, lighter blue, and a little touch of brown. Now, if you ended up using too much brown, you can always go back over it with a little more blue paint. And we'll fill that all in. Now, you're also going to do that on the right side of our second birch. So once you're done filling in the center of the canvas, you're going to repeat that process. So now I'm going back in, grabbing some of the dark blue, light blue, and brown, and fill that all in. All right, up against the edge of that birch, pulling through with the flat side of the brush in long vertical strokes. Now, if you want it a little bit brighter, you don't have to use as much brown, and you can also omit the brown as well if you wanted to keep that beautiful kind of light blue peeking through. But I do like having a darker background because I feel like the white birches will have better contrast along with those beautiful little snowflakes trickling down. Okay, we'll do a little bit later with some wine cork stamping. Excellent. I've pretty much covered everything that I needed to cover. Now you just have to be patient, let your painting dry. So I would say give your painting about a good 5-minute drying time before we move on to the next process. Do make sure your brushes are cleaned off properly and dried, and we will start back up. So I would say put a little pause on the video, give yourself 5 minutes, and we'll get going. So we are back after taking a short 5-minute break, making sure our background has dried. So now we're ready to put in some of those smaller birch trees that are off in the distance. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue using our large brush. So make sure that brush was cleaned off properly in your rinsing glass and dried off on your paper towel. This time we're going to grab just a little bit of white paint. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top and pull our way down. So you're going to use the skinny side of the brush, gentle pressure, and in one solid stroke, pull all the way down to the bottom of the canvas. And this will give us a birch tree that's off in the distance. So it looks a little grayer because it's still kind of picking up some of that blue right behind it. And it's a little bit thinner in width as well. We don't want it as large as our original birch trees. So it looks like we've got about 3 of those in between our first and second larger birch trees. So I'm going to go back in, skinny side of my brush, pull and drag from the top, apply pressure. You want to make sure the base of the birch tree is just a little bit wider. Grab a little more white paint. I'm going to put in one more that's going to be leaning gently to the left, pull and drag all the way down to the bottom of the canvas. So we have our birch trees in the middle that are farther off in the distance. Looks like we have one more just kind of veering through the right side of the canvas. We're going to put that in as well. All right. Top of that birch tree is just a little thinner than the base. All right. And we're going to let those dry for the time being. So you're going to rinse off your large brush, give it a good dry on your paper towel. And this time we're going to work on our larger birches. We want to give it that kind of 3-dimensional look, papery feel. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with just a little bit of brown and black on your brush. Don't need a whole lot of paint, just a touch. All right, applying 2 colors. Now this time what I want you to do is use the flat side of the brush and pull and drag and kind of come off the canvas, giving it that kind of papery, birchy feel. All right, and as you're pulling and dragging, you're lifting off the canvas. And I want you to pull and drag with just a very gentle curve towards the center of the canvas. Your brush is going to be coming off the canvas. You're going to do that right along the right side of the tree. So you can see I'm going back in, grabbing a little bit of brown, a little bit of black, and pulling that through. Now we're going to do the same thing with a little bit of white in just a short minute. Okay, so you can see there's a variation of length in each and every single stroke. You don't want it to make it look like our tree has zebra stripes. So some of these brush marks will pull through towards the left side of that tree. Excellent. Go back in, grab a little more of that brown and black. All right, excellent. Now we're going to let that dry for a minute or two. So we're going to work on our second tree. We're going to grab a little bit of that brown and black, start on the right side of the tree, very gently pull and drag, coming off that canvas, giving it that papery feel. Rounding out as we're pulling and dragging across the birch. Excellent. Very good. So when we're done with that, you're gonna rinse off your brush, give it a good dry. And we're gonna do the same thing with just white paint. And we're gonna pull that through on the left side of the canvas. Clean that brush, dry it off. And now we're starting on the left, pulling in. Now you can see the paintbrush is picking up a little bit of that paint and pulling it through with the white, and that's what we're going for. We don't want our trees to be completely dry. We want to kind of get that white pulled through, picking up a little touch of that brown and black. Now you can very sparingly throughout kind of go in with just a little pop of that white along the right side of the tree. So you'll be overlapping a small portion of a little bit of that brown and black that we pulled through. All right, welcome back, painters. So hopefully you got a chance to really tighten up those birch trees, add in your final touches, play around with some of those textures. Like I said before, you have 3 brushes, so you're more than welcome to use any of those brushes if you'd like. And you've given yourself about a good 10-minute drying time. So now I think we're ready for the next step, and we're gonna go in with some beautiful snow. So we're gonna pick up our wine cork and we're gonna do some stamping. Now you can see there's various blues all throughout this painting. We've got some darker stamps of some darker blue. We have some lighter blue. So we've got a little bit of white kind of swirling and mixing in with the blues along the top. So we're actually going to start off with the darker color and work our way to our lightest color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my wine cork. I'm going to grab some of that darker blue. I want you to just get a really good feel for getting a couple of these stamps in. Now, very sparingly throughout, you're going in and kind of dabbing, twisting, and curling. And I want you to kind of cluster your stamps. You can also kind of spread them out sparingly throughout. They're going to be on top of the birches, around the birches, in between. And less is more initially, so I wouldn't get too crazy with the dark blue. Just kind of go in with a couple stamps, have some overlapping, some a little more spread out. And then slowly, you're going to kind of start trickling your way down the canvas. You can see there's a lot more of those stamps a little closer to the top. Not as many as you start pulling that paint downward. Once again, it's a dab, twist, and curl. And once you apply that paint onto your cork, you could probably get about a good 3 stamps before you have to reapply more paint. All right, I'm happy with the dark blue. Don't have to wipe off your cork. And now I'm just going to grab a little bit of the lighter blue. I'm going to start stamping that in between the darker blue and in between as well. Don't forget, dab, twist, and curl. I'm going to overlap. And you can have as many of these stamps as you'd like. Make sure a majority of these wine stamps are a little closer to the top of the canvas. You want it a little fuller at the top. Have some kind of coming off the edge. All right. And of course, take your time. You can pause this video whenever you need to get caught up. All right. So now what I'm going to do is leave that blue on there. I'm going to grab a little more of that lighter blue, and I'm going to pick up a touch of that white. All right, and the white and the blue are going to swirl really nicely on the canvas to get that great contrast in between some of those darker stamps. So once again, it was a touch of that lighter blue and a little bit of white. Now you can also just have white stamps as well. And when you overlap the other colors, they'll tend to kind of pick them up too and work themselves straight into that stamp. A little fuller towards the middle. Like I said, grab a lot of paint, dab, twist, and curl. You should be able to get about 3 good stamps before you gotta add a little more paint. Right. And it's always good to just kind of step back, engage whether or not, oh, I might need some more off in that top right-hand corner. Looks like I don't have enough kind of trickling down on the left side of this birch tree. again, there's no right or wrong way of going about this. You can also play around with the dark blue, do a little dip of that with a little bit of white, stamp away. There we go. Now, what if you wanted some smaller snowflakes kind of peeking through? You can't quite get that with your wine cork. So what you can do is pick up your medium-sized brush, and you could use the back handle of your brush to go in with some smaller snowflakes off in the distance. I'm just using a little bit of white, just kind of dabbing a couple of these snowflakes very sparingly throughout our dark blue-gray background. You can also put some of these in between and on top of your birches if you'd like. And stamp away with a little bit of just blue. And once again, once you apply the paint on your brush, you could probably get about a good 3 to 4 stamps before you gotta grab a little bit more. So I know it wasn't featured in the original painting, but a little something extra you can do on your own little special touch. I've had people put a little sprinkle of glitter onto the wet paint if you have that at home. And I think I am happy with my painting. So give yourself a few minutes to just kind of take a look at your painting and see if you need to go back in, do a couple more stamps. If you are finished with your painting, I always recommend signing your name on the bottom right-hand corner. And thank you so much for joining us today. We have a couple of videos featured on our YouTube channel. We do have all these kits available online at tipsypaint.com, only for $30. Your bundle will include the canvas, the brushes, the paints, everything that you need to complete these beautiful paintings. So thank you for joining us. Enjoy this holiday season. Be well, be safe, and hopefully we look forward to seeing you at the studio one day. Thank you so much.